and welcome to Hot Money on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. Before we start with Hot Money, let's address a big news on ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank board has selected a new chairman. Retired IAS officer Girish Chaturvedi will take over from MK Sharma. Vishwanath Nair joins us on the phone line for more details. Vishwanath, the news obviously is out. Girish Chaturvedi is the new chairman. Firstly, just take us through the new and why is this like a part-time chairman that's the number that's put in?
So from what we understand, Darshan, at this point in time is that he has been appointed as a director on the board and that he will take over from MK Sharma after Sharma retires tomorrow. That is his last working day. Only after that can a new chairman be appointed. So this is a non-executive position, as we all know, but it's also subject
Vishwanath,
to...
just hold on. We have Girish Chaturvedi joining us on the line currently. Vishwanath, you're free to join in the conversation. Congratulations, Mr. Chaturvedi, on this new role. Take us through what the details are. What's the timeline that you will be chairman, and what's the news with this part-time chairman, because that's what the release did indicate.
No, in fact, don't expect me a detailed answer on this because I just do not know anything about the actual functioning about which you really want to have my comments on. In fact, I will also have to really see that to make any comments. At this stage, I can simply say that, yes, it's a pleasure to be there, and let's see that it all works well.
Mr. Chaturvedi, you also have my banking colleague Vishwanath who's joining in on the conversation. Vishwanath, take it away.
Mr. Chaturvedi, just wanted to ask a question. You know, considering there is a lot of news surrounding ICICI Bank at this point in time, and the position of a non-executive chairman is considerably important because the bank's board has a role to play in the corporate governance issues that are being raised by various whistleblowers. What would be your agenda as such?
Again, my reply would be the same. It is too early for me to make any comment on. But yes, in general, all of us can say that yes, good corporate governance is one of the topmost items in the agenda.
Right. Also, Mr. Chaturvedi, another point that I wanted to ask you is how soon do you think the regulatory approvals are likely to come in? Would you, as the bank, informed you about this?
No, nothing. I have no knowledge about it. So I
at this point in time, therefore.
No commitment on that because since I do not know anything about it, so it's better not to make any comments.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chaturvedi. This is Menaka Doshi here at Bloomberg Quint. First, congratulations. And second, what is your view on how the ICICI Bank board has conducted itself in the last several months as it faces this very unusual crisis? And what do you think you will be able to do differently to put to rest all the various investor concerns that have come to fore as a result of the challenges that the board has faced?
Let me in fact be a little blunt and cut you short that I'm nobody to comment on the functioning of ICICI board. So don't ask my comment on the functioning of ICICI board so far.
Okay.
But definitely I can always say for future that yes, the board will see that the good corporate governance principles are followed.
I'm sure that would be the case, sir. But, I do want to seek your comment on the way or the manner in which even this appointment has happened. Now, forgive me, I don't mean to be aggressive here. I know you have just been appointed today. But for a long time, it has been well known that the incumbent chairman's term was coming to an end. And yet the board was not able to make up its mind on who would his successor be. And it is only now, as we come to the fag end of his term, that you have been selected, as a director on board and then will go on to be the chairman of the board. Does this make it very difficult transition for you? Because had you had some months of advance notice, some months of actually having been on the board for a while, this would have been an easier transition for you?
No, that doesn't make a difference, in fact. How has it happened? I have no knowledge again. But definitely, we will look towards good future. That's all I can say.
So what is your comment on, I think the ongoing effort to put in a probe headed by retired Justice Sri Krishna? I think we finally did get a confirmation from ICICI Bank only just a few days ago that he has been appointed to head this probe. Is there a fixed timeline within which this probe should be done? What are your views on it? Even if your views are not formal decisions of the board, what are your personal views?
I'm not privy to what kind of terms have been given to the Commission. I believe that should be there in the terms and conditions. And Justice Krishna will definitely, he will work according to those terms and conditions. So, since I do not have any knowledge, detailed knowledge and authentic knowledge about this, not fair on my part to make any comment.
Yeah, I'm sure, Mr. Chaturvedi, I'm sure I understand your position. You have been taken on board today and you are chairman designate. I hope you understand my position. There are many questions that need answering and the board has not done maybe the best job of being able to do that. How did you receive this news? When were you first informed that you would be considered as director on board? And can I ask you, what made you accept such a challenging position at such a difficult time for this bank?
There is no running away from any position of responsibility for that matter. And you are giving me the news? When I say you, it means the newspapers and newsmakers, they are giving me the news.
Are you suggesting, Mr. Chaturvedi, that the board has not reached out to you or that you don't have any official formal communication?
No. I have no official information so far.
You have no official communication from anyone at the ICICI Bank board?
No, nothing of the sort.
So they have not reached out to you in advance to even intimate you that such a decision was being made today?
No, in fact, they have asked for my biodata, that's the time. Nothing else.
So when they asked for your biodata, were you at all curious as to what this was going to result in?
Maybe there are a number of things, because biodata, in fact, can be used for other purposes too. So that's the end of it. Nothing. I did not inquire to say, kindly send a copy of your biodata. I did that and that's all.
So you had absolutely no inkling, Mr. Chaturvedi, that you were going to be appointed director today and that you would become chairman designate?
No, not at all. Not at all.
In which case, then I should, on behalf of the board, ask you if you are going to accept this position, because well, if you only just found out through the media, then I should ask you.
That I can say yes.
Okay, fine. So you are on record with Bloomberg Queen to say that you have accepted this position, even though I am not the board and I am not authorized to make this offer to you, but you have accepted this. So when do you have any information on the timeline as to when you actually do take on responsibilities as a director on board?
Nothing. I have no information, so it's not the right on my part to make any comment on that.
Okay, so I would imagine standard process would follow as laid down in company law, etc. That you would, this would be put to vote also eventually with shareholders, and the standard process will follow.
Normal process will take place, and it has to go according to that.
But so can I candidly ask you that, do you not think that it would have been wise on part of the board to have made this decision even at least a month ago, so that you would have had a month to work with the existing board and the existing chairman or the incumbent chairman, and that therefore make for a more smooth transition?
I have no comment to make on that, because you can ask the current board for that matter. Why are you asking me?
Because you are now tasked, or you will be tasked with the very onerous responsibility of not just being the chairman of the board of the country's largest private sector bank, but also one that seems to be in the middle of a fairly serious crisis. And therefore, wouldn't you have wished that you had at least a month or two of transition?
I don't comment on that, because things don't work according to my wish. There are so many other things which keep happening, and I have no knowledge about those circumstances. So it will not be fair on my part to say that they should have followed this or they should have followed an alternative. I have no knowledge about it.
But you have a personal view, surely, sir?
No. So the personal views have no value here, because as things have happened, we have to take it as such.
What kind of transition would you like? Let me ask you that. This does not involve the board's view. What kind of transition would you like for you to be able to take on the reins of this bank? Because as we understand, Ms. Chanda Kochar is currently on extended leave, till the completion of the inquiry headed by retired Justice Sri Krishna. A new chief operating officer has been appointed in Sandeep Bakshi, and Sandeep Bakshi will be reporting into the board. So effectively, this is going to be in your charge for the next several months till this inquiry is over and a decision is taken on the managing director and CEO. So what kind of transition do you think will prepare you for being able to take this charge?
For that, in fact, I have to be well aware of the situation. So since I'm not aware of the actual situation, again, I would say the same thing. It's too early and premature on my part to make any comment.
Okay, I will ask you one final question, sir. In your career, do you think that everything that you have experienced has prepared you for a situation like this that you're about to confront at ICICI Bank? What do you think you will be able to bring to bear to these particular challenges that the bank faces today?
In fact, for that matter, all officers who work in state and government of India, they are prepared, and if they have some previous experience of financial sector, that helps. So that experience I have. So I feel anybody who has worked in the financial sector will be ready to meet this kind of a challenge.
Can you talk us through your experiences of working in the financial sector that you think will prepare you for being able to take on this role, sir?
It will help. Definitely it will help. Because I have worked in the financial sector for a fairly long time. So that comes to help.
All right. Mr. Chaturvedi, any more information you could give us on when you actually do undertake the responsibility?
Currently, I don't have any other.
All right. I suppose. Well, I appreciate you finding the time to speak with us and this peculiar situation in which you've been informed by Bloomberg Quint that, you are the chairman designate at ICICI Bank. And thank you very much for agreeing to take on the position. So there you have it. We do have a transition taking place on the board of ICICI Bank. As we knew, the term of the incumbent chairman, Mr. M.K. Sharma, was to end at the end of this month, and we've all been waiting impatiently to find out who the successor will be, and we now know that it is going to be Mr. Chaturvedi. Of course, he wasn't in a situation where he could share more details with us with regards to the various challenges facing the bank and how he is going to overcome them, but we'll leave that for another conversation later on in the day. Right now, let's get back to Darshan for Hot Money.
Thanks, Menka. We'll get back to Hot Money, and the stocks that we'll discuss in Hot Money today include counters like Titan. We'll discuss the insurance space, and we'll discuss Shriram Transport. So let's start with the first one, and that is Titan. The counter has corrected significantly. It's down almost 15% from the recent highs. Yesterday, the news came out that Big Bull had sold part of it, but the counter is still up in trade. It's been a marked outperform. It's up almost 70% in this year. What we're asking our guest is this the right time to start accumulating Titan in the fall that just came in? So, Shaina, I'll start with you. What's your view on Titan? Should someone look at accumulating Titan in the fall that has just happened?
I personally have the stock. I bought it close to this current level sometime couple of months back before the rally, and I would currently buy it at current levels. I would add. I think valuations have been expensive and will continue being expensive. Even if you look at 2020, I think it's close to about 35 times, so it's not a cheap stock. But if you look at the guidance, that they are talking of 25% growth per annum. I think margins also improving, so I would be a buyer. Okay, you would be a buyer. What about you, Jay? What's your view on Titan? Titan is a great stock, no doubt, a great story with a lot of growth. But we should also understand that it has risen up very sharply in the last 2 years. It's valued at almost 65 times of the earnings. And with a marquee investor having sold a reasonable quantity now, I think this correction which is going on should continue for some more time. And my view is that from this level also we should expect about 10 to 15% fall. That is a good level to enter, because the long-term story is great. Okay, so that's the view that's coming in. Jay believes another 10% is possible. And Sharmila, what's your view on Titan? What should one do?
Well, I think that obviously I think the way we saw the stock correct had a lot to do with the fact that the news was out that Mr. Jhunjhunwala sold, and there is a certain big section of the market that follows his trade. So there's a Me Too sort of element to it, where you buy if he buys, and you will obviously sell. So that overhang will remain. But I think the stock benefits from the twin benefits of the fact that all these KYC norms, etc., that have come into jewelry space over the last couple of years definitely benefit listed players like Titan. And the fact that a lot of the other listed jewelry space is going through some or the other trouble, post this whole Nirav Modi issue. We've seen a lot of jewelry stocks correct. So I think given that, I would agree that perhaps the stock should correct a little, though it has a sort of pullback today. So try and buy it closer to 800 levels, but I think it's a great stock to be invested in.
Okay, we'll throw it up open for discussion. Jay, what's the main reason or trigger you believe that another 10% fall is possible in Titan?
See, Titan used to be valued at about 40-45 times of the PE ratio about 2 years back. Now it's at about 65. At the peak, it went to almost 75. So we see a macro level correction in the markets going on.
Okay.
And with the global liquidity situation slowly tightening, so we should expect the P's to come down in general. So though the stock is very good, but we expect that the correction is not yet done and it should go through further.
Okay, Shaina, what are the key triggers? You're rather bullish on it. The other two guys do believe that there could be correction. What makes you so bullish? What are the key triggers that you are looking at that someone should look out in case they want to make a bullish stance on Titan?
I think the franchisee network that they have set up, over 1,000 stores, is extremely positive.
Okay.
And I think going forward with the shift from unorganized to organized, as was being alluded earlier, I totally agree. And if you see all these factors like GST, certain KYC norms that have to be submitted, I think Titan is one of the stocks in the jewelry sector that has actually managed to override it and show performance in terms of overall growth. And in addition to that, I think some of the other accessory divisions that they have set up, I think those itself are doing well. So I like the overall play on the consumer segment with a longer term view. So if you're a long term investor and one is looking to get into strong quality managements as well as businesses, that could be a space that one could look at and add to your portfolio.
Okay, and Sharmila, you also believe that there could be potential correction that would come in. Jay pointed out that valuation is one of the key triggers. Is there any other thing that you believe could be the rationale why the downside, why Titan should correct a little bit more?
Well, there will be this overhang because, when you're saying somebody has sold 1% of the equity, it's pretty sizable, for a stock like Titan. So that weight will be there on the stock. And secondly, I think I completely agree the overall correction that we are seeing in the market. I don't think we are really done with that. Today we are just relieved because it's a new series and people are taking like a fresh call on a lot of stocks. But I think let this thing settle a little, and then let's see if this buying in mid caps really continues, if yesterday indeed was a bottom. If not, then I think definitely there could be correction. But I think in that correction, if you have to make a list of stocks to buy, Titan should be on it.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in on Titan currently. I think no one's doubting. I think all three of our guests don't doubt the fact that Titan is a great stock that you should accumulate for the long term. But both Jay and Sharmila do believe that there could be more potential downside, and that's the time you start accumulating. Shaina has a different view. She believes that it's a stock that needs to be accumulated. She personally has given disclosure that she owns the stock. The next sector, stock or sector we want to speak about is the private insurance, is the insurance space, not the private insurance space. A lot of companies have been listed in this space over the past few years. What's the view? Which is the best stock in that pick? We'll ask our guest. What about you, Jay? What's your view on the insurance space? Is there some company that you like here?
On the insurance space, this is an area which is not yet under our coverage. We just initiated some work on that. So we have a broad view. We don't have a very specific view on that. Broadly, we feel that insurance is highly underpenetrated in India. A large population, almost 18% of the population of India, and our market size is just about 2% of the global market size. So this is a sector which is going to grow in the next 10-20 years. And we feel that private sector will grow at the expense of public sector, though LIC has been doing a good job. But just like we saw in private sector banks, slowly the private sector insurance companies will grow at the expense of the public sector, as we see a few years down the line. ICICI Pru looks good. ICICI and SBI both have used the banking channels to sell their policies well, and HDFC is fast catching up. But I feel that ICICI Pru apparently looks a better bet for the time being.
Okay, ICICI Pru is a better bet than SBI Life at this point of time for Jay. Sharmila, view on the insurance sector and what's the best play here?
Well, I would agree with Pru Life. I mean, just to broadly speak about the insurance sector, I completely agree, under-penetrated, etc. Within that space, I think even the non-life will slowly catch up, though it's not a very big part of the business yet. And we have some listed names in that space as well. But I think just now for me, the buys would be from the life insurance part of the business, and I like Pru Life at this price. I think there has been a little bit of a rub-off perception from this whole ICICI Bank issue on both Pru Life as well as ICICI Security. So, that bit is there. And I think, in terms of the kind of products that they offer and then the kind of all the business parameters that you look for in a life insurance business, they've really delivered well in this last quarter. So I think it's a stock I like at this level.
Okay, so the second guest also believes that ICICI Pru. Will it be an ICICI Pru for you, or you have a different view on the insurance sector?
I am positive on ICICI Pru. I think I am positive in the overall insurance segment, and especially life insurance. I think the government policy moving towards coverage for all is going to be a positive for all the stocks in the sector. But I will personally go with HDFC Standard Life if I was to buy it today because of the increasing market share. I think the market share out there is already 19%. They are fast growing, and with 21% type of growth that they showed in FY18, I think they are likely to gain market share over the others over the coming years. So I would go with it, despite being a more expensive stock compared to the Pru.
Okay, so I think the view on the insurance space is positive at this point of time. The two picks that have come out basically from Jay is ICICI Prudential. He prefers it over SBI Life. Sharmila also likes ICICI Pru. Shahina likes HDFC Life. So that's the view on the insurance space. The next stock we want to speak about is Shriram Transport. The counter has corrected significantly. It's up in today's trade, but from the recent high, it's down almost 20%. At a time when everyone is speaking about the CV cycle recovery, the correction that we've seen in some of the stocks certainly points that it could be a dampener here. So we'll ask our guest what they believe in Shriram Transport. Sharmila, is the CV story over because the way the correction has happened? And a word on Shriram Transport.
I actually like the stock, because I think that even if the CV cycle, obviously it benefits most if the CV cycle is good. But let's not forget that Shriram Transport is actually in the business of refinance vehicles. So I don't think that it really completely depends on CV cycles per se. But obviously, I think when you see an uptick in CV cycles, then it stands to reason that Shriram Transport will also do well. So I think it's a stock that I like. I think the correction was a part of the overall mid-cap correction that we were seeing in the market, nothing more than that. And again, I think, as in the case of Titan, if you were to see a further correction and if you had to pick stocks within the space that you like, within the basket, I think Shriram Transport fits the bill nicely.
So positive view that's coming in on Shriram Transport at this point of time. Jay, what's your view on Shriram Transport?
We are also positive on Shriram Transport, but again I agree with Sharmila that being a part of the finance sector, we may see a small correction of between 5 to 10% over the next maybe 2-3 months. But Shriram Transport has a great future, especially after Piramal entry. Piramal seems to be the man with the Midas touch. And with his entry, the company is also going into property financing, and they may branch out into more areas. It has a 26% market share in this finance, and I believe that the future is great. But on a shorter term basis, we would like to hold for some time and accumulate gradually. Okay,
accumulate gradually on Shriram Transport. And what's your view, Shahina, on Shriram Transport?
Yeah, I think the chart as well as the fourth quarter numbers were, it does make me feel that one should be buying at dips. I'm positive and I would be a buyer, but I would prefer buying at dips. The fourth quarter numbers we saw were impacted because of the change in provisioning norms from 120 days to 90 days. So I think that is going to be a dampener. The provisions were huge and we saw profits declining, which is why the stock has corrected. So I think that overhang is likely to continue for some time. But I think the growth that is there, 21% type of growth in AUM is a positive. So I would continue to buy it at dips.
Okay, yeah. So that's the consensus view that's coming in on Shriram Transport, buy on dip. And since we have time, we'll just pull in the last one. We've asked a guest whether they believe any stock they believe currently is overvalued and should probably correct. So we'll just take comments 1 minute. Which stock would you say?
I've gone with Future Consumer. Okay. I think it's a basket that people like, but I think the valuation the stock is trading at are just not in sync with what the stock is, the business the company is in, and the kind of results the stock is delivering. So I think there has to be a sort of reality check in this stock sooner rather than later. So I think this is a stock which is overvalued.
Okay, you believe that it's overvalued? It's not focusing on.
It's probably factoring in some news which is not like really in the public domain yet, and it's run up more on perception of good things happening than something that is actually tangible in results and bottom line. So for me, this is.
I think it's a most of the brokerages have a buy recommendation, but somehow never reached to the target prices that most of the brokerages have given. Jay, which stock according to you is overvalued and probably should correct?
I feel that Eicher Motors is one stock. It has been a darling of investors, but based on the past growth, it has been growing almost 50% in the past. But I think now it's going to face good competition from existing players, with Honda and Bajaj getting into the larger sized bikes about 250-300 cc's. And the growth should moderate to something like 15-20% over the next 3-4 years. So considering that, I feel at current PE of about 38 or so, I feel that the stock is a little overvalued. And last 3-4 months price movement also indicates sort of exhaustion in the stock.
Okay.
So we expect that we can expect almost something like about 20%
You expect
correction.
money to shift from Eicher to other two-wheelers, or are you not bullish on the two-wheelers?
No, the attraction of this as an investment opportunity will reduce.
Will reduce. Okay. So Eicher Motors and China, which is the one you are indicating?
If one is to talk of overpriced stock, I would go with a Biocon.
Okay.
I think the stock is so overpriced compared to the rest of the pharma sector. Of course, the overall pharma is improving, but Biocon is, I think, double the valuation of almost all the other pharma stocks put together. So I think there is potential for all, but I think Biocon is overvalued.
Okay, a lot of people spoke about the business prospect, and that is why they're giving this valuation in terms of the large opportunity of biosimilars. You don't think that that potential growth probably won't come in as much as the street is anticipating?
That potential is there. It will come in 2020, but you know, that valuation is there in the current price, but that opportunity is there even for the rest of the pharma. A lot of other pharma companies have specialty products that they are lined up for the next 2 years, and that is not there in the value. So if one is really going to pick one particular stock, you know, I think it is overpriced. Everything is there in the price, a lot of it, and on the other hand, you have pharma stocks that are available at at 15 times, 12 times, 18 times, which I think with equally big potential over the next 2 years. So I would be preferring some of the other pharma stocks compared to Biocon.
Okay, so that's the view in terms of some of the overvalued stocks. Biocon is something that Shahina speaks about. Future Consumer is something that Sharmila spoke about, and Eicher Motors is something that Jay spoke about. But with that, it's a wrap on today's Hot Money. Shahina, Sharmila and Jay, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. Ask BQ comes up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg.